Cashflow Diary podcast, episode 522.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Cashflow Diary podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other Cashflow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, Jay Massey.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Diary podcast. I'm your host, Jay Massey, and I'm glad that you are here today because we are going to talk about those essential skills. It's those essential skills that help us become bigger, better, badder entrepreneurs, building our cash flow and doing the things that our business requires. Now, you know, like I know, sometimes in order to increase your net worth, you must increase not only your self-worth, but you also have to build those skills. Remember, you will never out-earn your personal growth. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about it from the perspective of starting your own business to becoming someone who helps people build their businesses to higher levels through the skill set of leadership. I have with me today none other than Michelle Tillis Letterman. She's the CEO of Executive Essentials, and she has written a new book, and you probably know her from her previous book, The 11 Laws of Likeability. What that simply means is that, well, I guess we're going to like her because she wrote the book on that. But more importantly, her new book, The Connector's Advantage, 7 Mindsets to Grow Your Influence and Impact, she's going to help us make sure that we can connect with other people one-on-one and in groups. This is an important skill. And I know you know this as you have your team meetings, as you speak to your customers, as you go out there looking for that next opportunity. Sometimes just because you are eloquent in your presentation, just because you present well, just because you can communicate what it is that your company does and the value that you provide, you win. And guys, gals, you want the skill sets to win. That's why you listen, and that's what we do. So let's get ready to listen, learn, and love Michelle Tillis Letterman. Michelle, how you doing?
I am doing great. I love listening to you.
Well, that's good. I'm glad because you're going to do a little bit of listening, but hopefully a whole lot of talking as we go throughout today. Now, this being your first time here, I have to ask you the same question I tend to ask everybody the first time that they're here. You ready?
Uh-oh. Yes, I'm braced. I'm ready.
She thinks she's ready. Here we go. So I tend to look at today's entrepreneurs a lot like yesterday's superheroes, like Batman, Wonder Woman, Robin, etc. Because I think superheroes and entrepreneurs have a ton of things in common. For example, as an entrepreneur, occasionally I can envision myself flying around town, using our products and services, saving our customers one sale at a time. And yes, I'm probably wearing a cape at that moment. Also, like a superhero, an entrepreneur has a beginning. So if you think about Spider-Man, for example, there was a time where he was just a kid going to school, doing his own thing. And then one day he gets bit by a spider, realizes I've got a superhuman ability, and he has to choose whether to use it for good or for evil. So my question to you is as follows. Before being, featured on the likes of CBS, MSNBC, New York Times, Forbes, before, even being your recovering CPA and helping companies like, Madison Square Garden, Citi, Johnson & Johnson, before all the books, before everything that we know you for today, what we want to know is, who is Michelle Tillis Letterman?
I love it. You're making me think of what's my origin story.
Exactly.
So I am a petite powerhouse. I just came up with that. That's my new superhero name.
Awesome.
I'm 4'10.25".
What?
And
I'm like 6'3", almost 6'4", so that would be funny, you and I on stage. God.
I dated somebody for 8 years taller than you, so
Oh my goodness.
We try to even out the gene pool. And it's interesting. I think a lot of our origin stories are about anecdotes to our past. And, I grew up as a have-not, and it's not that we were destitute or poor by most standards, but I lived in a community where I was on the lower end, and a single parent household where we were pretty much hand to mouth. There were times we sold furniture to pay the mortgage, and it was a time when all I wanted and dreamed about for my future was that financial security. And so that's really part of my origin story is I chose a path solely as an anecdote to that feeling that I had as a child.
Interesting. Now that feeling of financial security, can you connect us? What did you think that meant then? And I guess, honestly, what do you think it means now?
I think what it meant then, I always thought, I wonder if I could ever go into a store and not have to look at a price tag.
Got it. Okay. I think a number of people know what that one.
Kid,
yeah.
I mean, the idea of I never had a pair of Guess jeans. I mean, I know it's not the end of the world.
Right.
But, when you're 13 years old, it's kind of like the only thing you think about.
Right. Absolutely. Especially with all the friends. So take us on this journey, if you will. How does that inform some of the choices that you've made in order to become, the author, speaker, trainer that you are today?
So for those people out there who haven't yet and are just starting out their business and they're kind of thinking about that transition, one of the great things is to understand why we made the decisions we made. And I know why I made those decisions. I was really good at numbers. I'm photographic when it comes to numbers.
Awesome.
So accounting came out really easy to me. And I was like, okay, well, that sounds like a really secure job. Everyone always needs an accountant. Now, you can probably already tell from my personality that I didn't quite fit that mold.
No, you did not.
I had him cracking up before we started, and it just made my day. And people would say to me, you don't seem like a typical accountant. I would say, I'm going to break the mold. And, well, it broke me instead. I made decisions, and we all make decisions based on that anecdote, right? What are we trying to, get in that lifestyle? And then we think about the skills that we have. And that's exactly what I did. And I said, well, I'm really good at this numbers thing, and it makes sense to me, and that's easy. And I never got to that passion. And when I talk to people about thinking about that shift, you want to start with that passion and then match it to your skills. And I learned that throughout the process. So I tried every different way I could be in a finance career. I was an auditor. I did mergers and acquisitions. I thought, well, I like publishing, so I'll do it in the publishing industry. And then I went to business school because I actually was going to study animal science. But then I couldn't justify going to school for 5 years to make half as much as what I was making right then. So I said, I'm going to go to business school, make a lot of money, and then donate my time and volunteer for my animal causes. And I did that, but yet I still wasn't satisfied. I was in consulting. I thought, well, that's helping people solve problems. And that didn't fit either. And so we keep looking for that fit and that purpose. And I ended up working on a trading floor. I was the only woman on the trading floor. I started management, I think, at the age of 22. And I remember one of the guys I was managing was 32, and I just thought that was kind of scary.
Uh-oh.
Right? Like, how is somebody who's 10 years older than me, when I've been out of school less than a year, going to listen to me? And I made a lot of mistakes along the way. And what I realized throughout all of those jobs in finance and being on the trading floor, and I was the only woman on a global venture capital team, I realized how poor the communication and the management was. They weren't being taught how to be effective. I wasn't being taught. I made somebody cry during a performance review.
Guy or gal?
Guy.
Yes. This is good. This is good. I like where this is headed then. Good.
Not one of my prouder moments, but it was part of my origin story because in that moment, I wasn't trying to be mean.
Right.
I was being honest. And when he started to cry, I was like, oh, I did something wrong. And, I let him recover, and I came back into the room, and I was standing in the hallway going, okay, I really messed up here. I need to like regroup. And I came back in and I said to him, I really did you a disservice. Although the things I was talking about are relevant and accurate, what I didn't tell you was that the client loved you. What I didn't tell you was, your work ethic is amazing. What I didn't tell you was, and I listed all these great things that I didn't ever mention before. Mm-hmm. And it shifted our entire conversation, and it became a coaching conversation about his career, which I kind of said, why did you want to be an accountant? Why did you want to, what do you like about the job? Within 6 months, he was in an HR position because of that conversation.
Oh,
I'm very happy about it. And it was a great fit for him. And it taught me about what those conversations should be like. And it was actually one of the first training programs I ever taught was how to give effective feedback.
There's a couple of things that I want to highlight. One of the things that you said, or that you demonstrated, I guess, in what you just shared with us, was you didn't let what you were trained in actually get in the way of you being willing to discover what you actually should be doing. Most people go, I'm trained as an accountant. I've studied being the accountant. I'm clearly going to be an accountant. Yeah, I know I want to do other things, but I'm not trained in those things. I'm just going to keep being an accountant, which suggests to me that there's a level of courage and agency that you possess. And I want to know where that comes from.
It's really interesting that you picked up on that. And I think that's probably something that a lot of your listeners need to find in themselves and to recognize in themselves. And I'm not sure I always realized it, but as you say that, I look back and I think about one other moment when I was working on the trading floor. I was reporting to I guess at the time he was the treasurer of the New York office, the New York bank, and he got promoted to be the CEO of the Tokyo branch. Oh. And so he asked me to go out there with him and help get the new team ready for him. So I hired this coach to go with me, paid her a freaking fortune. And then I did everything she did and then some. Mm-hmm. And I did not get paid like a tenth of what she was paid for that same time. And so at the end of the week, I went to the CEO and I said, I can do that. And he said, okay, you still have to do my budgets. You still have to do my hedge fund investing. You still have to do this and that and the other thing. But if you want to do this too, I'll support you. And it was that belief in myself, and that not just that belief, because we all know we can do things, but we're not willing to sometimes raise our hand or to claim it and to own it. And that's the risk we all need to take. And I think I might have had a drink or two before that meeting, but I just said, I can do that. And I knew I could. And he gave me that opportunity. So I was actually working for the bank while he sent me to learn how to be a trainer and then to train those topics inside the bank. And so I wasn't starting my own business yet, but I was getting those skills within the world I was in.
Yeah, no, I can hear that. One of the things that I'm hearing is that it's not like you weren't necessarily seeking it as much as you were open to the feedback that you were receiving, going, hey, wait a minute, there's something to this. And you were willing to pull at those strings to see what unraveled, which I also think is unique, that you were willing to go on an adventure with not really being sure where it was going to take you. Now,
I hadn't a clue.
Right?
And to some extent, I still don't have a clue. And I kind of like that. If I think about the beginning of my business, I had about 8 different service offerings.
Okay.
And, it was kind of like throw spaghetti at the wall and see what stuck.
Yeah, right.
And then I started to do this little matrix analysis because, you can take the girl out of accounting, but you can't take accounting out of the girl.
Yeah, right.
And I put the 8 service items, and then I had 3 criteria that I would rank them on. One was how profitable it was.
Right.
One was how easy it was. And one was how much I enjoyed it. Those were my 3 criteria at the time. And I think everyone needs their own kind of 3 criteria. And then I did a little matrix that rated everything on a weighted scale. And then I came up with numbers and ranked the things. And then I just had a gut reaction. And I think there's one thing to look at the numbers and the analysis. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, I love that. And that's getting a high ranking. Fabulous. I'll keep doing that. And there's something else that had a high ranking. I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't really want to do that. So it's kind of listening to those voices and those reactions that you have. And being open, as you said, to those moments in your wherever you are, right?
Yeah, but hold on. You know, like I know that there are a number of people who are listening to us right now and they are screaming. Like if they were in front of you, they would say, but Michelle, you don't understand. The things that I like doing, I'm afraid I can't make any money at it. Like who's going to pay me for that? I mean, in this other profitable thing, how on earth can I justify, not doing this thing that actually makes money in favor of this other thing that, and you rightly said, want to do?
Totally get it. I wanted to be a teacher when I was in 6th grade, but Did I want that paycheck? Not a chance.
I know. That's so sad. Like teachers, for you who are teachers, we are here for you. We wish you could get paid more.
I respect and admire teachers. And I view myself as a teacher. I was actually an adjunct professor at NYU for 7 years. I love being a teacher, but what we have to do is design our ideal, because that wasn't ideal for me because it wasn't a fit for what I needed in my life. And I had to find my own way to make it all the things I needed to be. And it took a long time to find that. And so what I would say to the who's going to pay me for that, well, think about, why? Why do they need it? What problem are you solving? How are you impacting? I talk about connection. I mean, my books are about likability and connection and relationships. That doesn't sound like a bottom line concept. Who's going to pay me to come and talk to you about being friendly, But can I tell you, I can link it to the bottom line. I can show you statistics on how you are 4 times more likely to close a deal if you get it through a referral. That people trust, 92% of people trust referrals from somebody that they know. People would rather do business with somebody they like over somebody who has a better product or better price. It is the relationship that wins. I can tie all these concepts to the bottom line. So what do you do out there listening that you think nobody will pay for? Why do they need it? Take it from that angle.
So let me ask this question then, because yes, you write books about being likable and connecting, and I'm going to dive deeper into that connecting in just a second. But I know for me, I tend to get stuck when I have an emotion that's not necessarily positive, but needs to be connected to an individual in some way or form, and I've got to figure out how to do that. That seems like something that you've perfected, or at least have a way of helping people work through. And inside our community, I when our students come to us and say, hey, I'm having this problem, blah, blah, blah. Those that have been around always start saying, here comes a carefrontation. That's what I call them. It's those moments. It's like, look, I'm going to be very direct and it might sound blunt. Please don't cry. But I'm only doing it because I care. But I don't know any other way to say these things. And it sounds like you have techniques on how to do that.
Hello there, entrepreneur. This is Jay Massey. I know that if you've ever gone over to the site, cashflowdiary.com, you may have asked yourself, where on earth do you get a domain name from? Especially as you are beginning to build your bigger, better, badder business, you need a web presence. You need the email address. You need a way for people to contact you electronically so that you can stop doing the @gmail.com game. Well, the good folks over at GoDaddy have definitely supplied us with every domain that we have ever used. So what I want you to do is I want you to go over to trygodaddy.com/Cashflow Diary. Again, that's trygodaddy.com/Cashflow Diary, because it's a quick way for you to get set up to capture your domain name the exact way that you want it. They got easy search functions, and most importantly for you is that you'll be up and running today. As I said, once you get started, stay started. Don't let small little obstacles of how to get your own domain name going stop you. So again, go to trygodaddy.com/Cashflow Diary, and let's get back to the rest of the story.
I do, but I want to back up a second.
Yes, ma'am.
And I want to remember the phrase, are you open to? So we'll come back to that in a second. But
okay.
The first book that I wrote, The 11 Laws of Likability, one of the things that you need to know is that you cannot make anybody like you. And once you accept that, what you can do is enable people to see what's likable about you. And that's really the foundation of
Say that again? I can't make anybody like me. I like the way say that.
but you can enable them to see what is likable about you.
Got it.
Because we all have qualities that are likable, but what those qualities are likable to different people for different reasons. So it's understanding not about who you are in isolation, but who you are with the person that you're trying to connect with. And what are those qualities that enable that connection? And so the Connector's Advantage is a follow-up to that book. I actually summarized the whole likability book in the Connector's Advantage so that they have that foundation. And so one, I wanted to kind of put that out there, is that we're not trying to trick or manipulate. We are trying to really enable and tune in and connect. And so when you were talking about those carefrontations, which is a great word, I might have to do a new course on that, because I talk about the value of conflict and all the positivity that can come out of conflict, whether personal or professional. And when we want somebody, and when we have information that we need to give somebody that they might not take well, I want to give this phrase out to everyone. Are you open to? And when you start a conversation with, are you open to? They will tell you right then and there, yes or no. And when they say no, then you say, okay. And you don't force that information on them. And then you might say, I understand. When you are, I'm here. Because they might need to come to you in their time. Most of the time, when you ask a question of, are you open to? People don't want to say, no, I'm closed.
That's true. That's
right?
very true.
And by saying yes, they then mentally are giving themselves that platform, that position to open themselves up for the information that's coming. It helps them shift and ready themselves for that information. Yeah.
I can see a little bit of FOMO happening right there, because if I say to somebody, are you open to thinking about that slightly differently? There's probably in their head, even if they feel they're right, there's that moment of, I'm afraid there might be something I don't know that I don't know. And if I say no, I'm not going to find out. So I can see
curiosity. Yeah.
I can see that working that way. So help me understand something then, as we shift a little bit here. You've done, accounting, and you've played many different roles in the financial world and on financial teams and etc. Why did you go, this is where I'm going to plant my flag and how I'm going to help people? Like, what is it about, helping entrepreneurs learn about connecting and networking and leadership that makes you go, that gets you excited?
I found my calling. I mean, I believe in everything that I write and everything that I say, and to be that connected to your message and your mission. I can't differentiate between who I am and what I do. And for me, that's the Holy Grail.
I like that. The two just meld together. She's like, okay.
People say to me all the time that I'm the same on stage as I am off. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that. I never really thought about what that meant, but I guess that's what that means. What you just said there. That's interesting. Now, in your book, you said the subtitle is 7 mindsets to grow your influence and impact. Help me understand what you mean by that. But it sounds like you're saying to me that there's a particular mindset, first of all, that's required in order for me to grow my influence and or impact.
I don't believe in things being called required, but the name of the book is The Connector's Advantage.
Sure.
And I want everyone to get that advantage. The advantage is faster, easier, better.
Yes.
Whatever you're trying to accomplish, whatever you're trying to do, grow your business, whatever, you're going to do it faster, you're going to do it easier, and you're going to do it better when you're a connector. So that's the bottom line of the book. That's the advantage. Now, what I'm teaching is that connectors have a certain way of thinking and acting and certain attributes, these 7 mindsets, that enable stronger connections. And that anyone can infuse these mindsets into their actions, their behaviors, to reap the same reward.
are you talking about connecting ourselves with another individual, or us being a connector for other people?
Yes.
Yes, I love it. I love that you did that. I do that to people all the time. Okay, got it. So talk about either one of those in whichever order you'd like.
All right. So let me I'm not going to go into every single mindset, but I just want people to have heard them. So the 7 mindsets the connectors are open and accepting. Mm-hmm. They have a clear vision. They believe in abundance. They trust. They're social and curious. They're conscientious, and they have a generous spirit. And so you can hear those things that you just asked me in multiple mindsets.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're saying from the perspective of connecting other people, well, we need to believe in abundance. We need to trust. We need to be social and curious. We need to have a generous spirit. We need to be conscientious to do all of those things. Yep. Right. To think about, well, who should I connect them with? And do I feel comfortable connecting them? And do I feel at risk if I connect? Like all those things, to be able to make those connections, you need those mindsets.
Well, hold on. What do you mean by at risk? If well, I don't understand that one. How would I be at risk?
The mindset of abundance is probably one of the most challenging mindsets, especially for me. And maybe it's just challenging for me and I'm just putting that on everybody else in the world.
No, I just don't understand. Why would I'm not risking. What are you talking about? I mean, I should freely do this. I typically am trying to get people to work together and, hey, you need to talk to this person type of stuff. But when you say risk, especially coming from an accounting person in the background, I'm like, oh my God, did I expose myself to something I don't know? Like what?
Let's take it from the podcast perspective, right? Okay. Are we at reputational risk? Are we at competitive risk? So let's say we have this great show and I say, hey, I'm promoting the book. What other podcast should I be on? You might be like, well, I don't know if I want to connect her because then my podcast isn't special because she's on multiple podcasts.
Oh, that's silly. Why would I do that?
Well, thank you. Yeah, exactly. A connector wouldn't, and you have the mindset of a connector. But there are people who have that mindset. That's a mindset of scarcity. And, as somebody, as I shared, who grew up in a scarce setting.
I see.
It's a really hard shift. We start when but it's not just scarce financially. I grew up in the finance field in the 90s when there was only one female partner in the firm.
Oh, yeah.
And women weren't successful in the field of finance, and it's still a man's world 30 years later. Well, not quite 30 years. I might be aging myself. 20-something years later. But so the idea of scarcity was then being competitive with the other women because only one of us were going to claw our way to the top, versus a mindset of abundance, which is saying, you know what, there might only be one partner now, but who's to say there can't be 20 partners next week?
No, okay, now I understand what you're talking about. But it's just been my experience that ideas and things like that, all of this, we just do better together than we do separately. I mean, and now I understand what you mean by at risk. I didn't think that, but if your information is good, and one of the reasons Cashflow Diary exists is to help entrepreneurs become bigger, better, and badder. Not all entrepreneurs listen to us. I'm not aware. I mean, I'm kind of aware that we're not the only podcast. So it would be wrong of me to not introduce you, if I could, or connect you, as you're saying, to other people who could help spread your message, because it's going to help more entrepreneurs, which is what we're trying to do anyway.
And that's the mindset of abundance, and that's the mindset of a connector.
Okay, got it. You had me scared for a second. I'm like, is there some insurance I was supposed to buy? Is there a risk I don't know about? Risk is a word that I am highly sensitive to because I like to play on the conservative side of things. So when you said that, it rang out loud and clear. So I got it. Okay. But that could be a mindset shift. What is one of the other difficult ones that you have found in working with entrepreneurs that they've had challenge grasping?
Honestly, sometimes it's having a clear vision. This is another one that people get stuck on, and people are a little surprised that to be a connector, you have to have a clear vision. But we're talking about the connector's advantage: faster, easier, better.
Sure.
If you want to get what you want, whatever results you're looking for, faster, easier, and better, you need to know what that is. If you don't have a clear vision, I always say you have to know what you want and know how to ask for it. And that's a lot about what I talk about in that chapter is how do you ask for something without putting the relationship at risk?
Interesting. I would love to hang around your children right now. That's what's going through my head. It's like I would hear them ask for something. But okay. So I guess then, Michelle, I have to ask the question, how do I ask for something? Because what if I don't know? Like, is it something other than what my mom said? I mean, is it more than please and thank you?
Yes, it is more than please and thank you. We want to think about when is it appropriate to ask, but it's also how we make an ask. I talk about different types of asks.
I see.
The opt-out ask, the make it easy ask, the whiff it ask, the non-ask.
Oh, my goodness.
And these are different. Obviously, I can't go into all of that nitty-gritty, but the idea is that when we ask for something, we don't want the possibility of somebody needing to or wanting to say no to then put a relationship at risk. Because no is fine if the relationship is going to continue and that there might be a yes down the road.
Understood.
Or maybe there won't be a yes down the road, but there might be an introduction to somebody else who might give me a yes down the road. It isn't, one of the mindsets is that it's the spirit of generosity. It's not about, I did for you, you do for me. It's not quid pro quo. There's no emotional bank account. It is the spirit of, as you said, I want to help. This is what I'm here for. I'm going to give and give and give it all and trust. There's another mindset that things come back. Although non-linearly, like it doesn't mean that who I gave is going to get back. It just means that when we take this spirit of generosity, results are exponentially greater for all.
Yeah. Yeah. That I agree. Yes, I agree 100%. And I right now I'm a little stunned about just how many different ways of asking there are. I'm kind of, you've piqued my curiosity simply because, like I said, other than please and thank you, I was like not aware of having different forms of asking. And I'm assuming, and I just don't know now, when it comes to this, there are, when we're asking it with these, different ways, do they tend to generate different results in terms of either success ratios and or how much, we'll call it relationship capital, gets withdrawn?
That's really interesting. And I have to be honest, I don't think about the term, the ROI. I'm not sitting there with the, I try to leave all that accounting behind me.
I'm sorry. That's the way my brain works. It's what
I get it. And I think that's partly, my mindset of being very organic. And not overthinking it, not worrying about it. I have results that I'm happy with. I don't need to track everything. I do try to at least, I get a lot of inquiries and I'll say, how did you hear about me? Or who can I thank? Mm-hmm. And so then I can circle back and say, hey, I just heard from so-and-so. Thank you so much for suggesting me. Mm-hmm. I'll do those little things, but I don't take it beyond showing appreciation to track it. So I piqued your interest with there are lots of ways to make an ask. There's also lots of ways to answer an ask.
Of course there are.
Just to blow your mind a little bit more, when we talk about the chapter on being conscientious, because connectors do what they say they're going to do. They follow up, they follow through. So you need to make sure that you're only saying yes to the things that you can actually do. And so I talk about how you can say yes and how you can say no. And that yes and no are never just yes and no.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I totally understood. That one actually makes a lot more sense already. So I can hear that one 100%. So let me ask this. When it comes to your journeys, when you're, speaking, coaching, consulting, doing the things that you do, what do you find that would be common amongst the most successful entrepreneurs or the people that you are working with that, is all of this natural? Can it be taught? Where do you stand on that?
All of this can be taught, of course.
I assumed.
Yes. That is one of the main objectives of the book. And I actually have mindset missions throughout the book to help people take it from concept to application and to start infusing these mindsets into their interactions and put them right to work for them. So, I don't, these things didn't come naturally to me. It's certainly not abundance, probably not trust, and definitely not open. I know that might sound surprising to you, but I remember, 15 plus years ago being in a leadership program, and the teacher came up to me, and then we had to kind of pick these words and that we wanted to work towards. And she said, open. I said, no, thank you. Closed is very good. I feel good about closed.
Oh, yes. I love it. Well, but, if we're talking, straight Darwinism here, of course, closed makes sense in a lot of cases. But, I think you obviously have evolved, and so do all of us as entrepreneurs and people. But I think what you're tapping into is similar to what I said at the very, very beginning. We cannot out earn our personal growth. I mean, we may want to have a bigger, better, badder business, but the likelihood of it happening without adapting some of these mindsets, I don't think it's gonna go that way.
You nailed it, and I loved it. I've never heard that phrase quite like that before, and I really liked it, is that you can't out-earn your personal growth. And I think that's what I'm about, is that I like to continue to grow and learn, and I'm in that constant state of, continuous learning and continuous improvement. That said, that thwarts the idea of contentment. And so it's trying to find that balance of, never good enough and great where I am.
No, totally hear you. I tend to look at it as, I'm just excited to learn something new. That's what happened when you said what you said about asking. I was like, ooh, I don't know this one. And while what I've been doing has been good for now, it's great and it's good, but the fact that I can learn something more sounds even more exciting. Now, speaking of learning more things, for those that have listened this far and want to, find out more about what you've got going on and pick up a copy of your books or just track you down, what's going to be the best way for them to catch up with you?
Well, I love being tracked down. When it comes to the book, you can go to theconnectorsadvantage.com, and there's actually a bunch of bonuses. I'm doing a BOGO, buy one, gift one. Yeah, so if you want to connect or reconnect, this is a great way to have an excuse to reach out. And that's where you can get all those good, fun bonuses. But the best way to track me down is my website, Michelle with 2 L's, Tillis, Tillis, Letterman, LEDERMAN.com. And from there, you can get to my LinkedIn and my professional Facebook, because, my personal Facebook and my hair in the 80s is just not pretty.
No one was. None.
With the hair in the 80s, I did hit 5 feet tall with that hairspray.
Well, there you go.
You can get to my YouTube channel. I do little video tips. You can get to my blog. You can get to me. So I would love to hear from you and tell me that you listen to this show.
Yes, indeed. Now, as we wind down, I've got a final question for you because I'm kind of curious to hear your answer. There's been a number of individuals who have been listening and they've reached what I like to call the precipice of decision. Maybe they started this episode going, can I? And now they're like, yes, I can make this happen. I can connect people. I can grow. I can learn to trust. I can do these things. And they're going, you know what? I'm going to make this business happen. No, you know what? I'm done with 6 figures. It's time for 7. And maybe like I know, Michelle, that when we get to that point, that precipice of decision, we have a companion. And that companion, it often comes in the form of a voice. And it's a voice that reminds us of how it didn't work last time, why it might not work this time, and who are you to think it would ever work for you? Oh my gosh. And for some people, they're related to that voice. So my question to you is as follows. Let's pretend that today they're going to do something different. This time it's going to be 100% different. They're going to follow through. They're going to do exactly what you say, and they're going to do so in the next 24 to 48 hours. So, Michelle, what do they do?
Sometimes when they're related to that voice, they are that voice. So there's 2 things I want you to do. One is be your own best friend. If you are that inner voice who's being really mean to yourself, I want you to channel that friend, that cheerleader that would tell you all the things that you want to hear and that you need to hear and that you know are true, but you don't tell yourself, and start telling yourself, because we believe our own stories. So that's number one. But number two, let's take some action. I want you to pick three. I want you to pick three people. One is going to be somebody who you already have a relationship that you want to strengthen, deepen. It could be a potential client. It could be a raving fan, whoever. One is going to be somebody who you aren't connected with yet, but you want to get connected with. And the third is your choice, but I like the number three. So you're going to start talking. You're going to find a reason to reach out, and it could just be, hey, it's been too long, or it's, hey, this is why I'm fascinated by you, or whatever the reason is, and you're going to start talking. And you're going to be social and curious, and you're going to look for opportunities to add value to them, and you're going to share. Not ask for anything, but you're going to share your vision. You're going to share what you're working on. A lot of times when we share, we tap into other people's desires and other people's generous spirits, and you just never know what a conversation can lead to.
I like that a lot. And I like what you're doing, how you're doing it, and definitely why you're doing it. Because at the end of the day, there aren't enough people who are out there focused on productive energy things, and you are, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the extra energy you put into taking the time to spread that message in various different mediums and forms. And I thank you for taking the time to share your knowledge, your wisdom, and insight here with us today at the Cashflow Diary.
Thanks so much for having me on.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. What does that mean? That means go grab a copy of the book. Shoot, go grab two, because apparently there's a BOGO going on. Nonetheless, what I want to make sure is clear, that you get to become your own best friend. I love that direction, because like I know, you said too many of the wrong things to yourself today, and now you get to do something about it. And don't forget, pick three. Make sure that one of those people could be yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun talking to you today. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.